Afternoon. My name is Andrea Rahul. I'm a student of THTI, and this evening I'll be doing a presentation on concepts and themes in the commercial kitchen. But first, a brief overview. What exactly are themes and concepts? Well, a theme merely refers to the style of food and layout of the establishment. Concept refers to how the establishment will run, such as the technologies used or the culinary practices or your management styles. So, for example, a modern restaurant might put a greater emphasis on more modern equipment, combi ovens, convection ovens, more sustain and it'll focus on more sustainable sourcing practices. While the theme, for example, will usually just focus on surface level things such as the menu items and the designs on the walls or even the uniforms of the staff. Now, there's a great deal of importance in having a clear concept and theme. First, it helps define the brand identity, which helps you to stand out. It also makes it easier for you to find your potential customer base. If you're too busy, if you're too scatterbrained, constantly looking for the newest thing without clearly looking into it, it will simply appeal to no one. Theme and interior design and how it relates to choices regarding interior layout, seating arrangements, and kitchen design. So the interior layout should always work with the needs of the theme, or else the restaurant risks turning off its customers to poor experience. So, for example, in the minimalist theme Cafe Del Mar, tables are spaced out in a way so as to provide enough private space for small groups or individuals, but also to encourage a certain degree of conversation amongst themselves. This creates a more casual, slower paced environment where the guests are encouraged to savor their food, take pictures, generally just meant to be there for the atmosphere. It's aimed at a slightly higher end of clientele, usually middle class, upper middle class individuals. In contrast, fast food establishments tend to be sterile and brightly colored with artificial lighting, and as much seating patched together as possible. It's it it's aimed at middle to lower class individuals who are simply interested in going in and collecting their food and going out. And the seating, certain themes require special seating arrangements. So, for example, in Chinese restaurants, they'll have a large round table, well, most in the Middle East, where for groups, they'll put the food in the center and have the table, put all the plates at the end, and people will rotate the table and take what they want, and eat communally. In high-end restaurants, they tend to have more group seating. So for example, they'll have in um in Jenny's on the Boulevard, they have a whole dining room just for large groups. This allows the guests to enjoy the meal at their own pace. They'll usually order multiple courses as well, and it's aimed at a higher end audience. In contrast, fast food restaurants tend to have more individual seating, and they're closely packed together as possible, meant to encourage very high turnover. So right here, you see is the KFC branch in Trinidad. Then there's kitchen design. Certain things require specialized areas for producing key menu items. This allows food to be produced consistently and economically. When restaurants do not have this, there'll usually be large bottlenecks. The food will be inconsistently prepared, or it'll just be generally unpleasant for both people back of house, front of house, and guests included. So, for example, in Italian restaurants, they'll have a dedicated area for making pizza. And even in the cafe, which I mentioned previously, they have a special pizza making area, just so it wouldn't interrupt the normal operations of the kitchen. There are also other examples as well. Indian restaurants need a special place to make their breads, usually with a tawa. They usually make naan and lots of shots and other things. Then there's also fast food kitchen. Another example, going back to other fast food locations. They usually have no separation between them and the cash register, so goods can move out as fast as possible. Incorporating cultural themes. When you choose to incorporate cultural themes into your food and beverage establishment, there are several questions you need to ask. The first is what to focus on. It usually means what aspect of the culture you'd like to see displayed at your restaurant. When you do this, it allows you to do proper, in-depth research, which will create a more attractive product for guests, and also allow you to look at potential alternative aspects and even themes, which will work better for your restaurant. So, sometimes, even though a country's culture may look interesting, it simply just doesn't have unique enough character to really be shown in a restaurant sometimes. Another question is, can it be practically implemented? This usually regards the cost of getting interior designs done, obtaining ingredients. So if you were to do a Bahamian themed restaurant, can you obtain conch and economically and have consistent quality on a regular basis? If you can't do that, then you might as well not bother. It's the main thing that most people go to those establishments for. Another question is, can staff be trained? If it is possible to properly train the staff, then in that case, your idea will do well. But if not, then there's many issues. For example, food waste, which will lead to higher food costs. It will also lead to higher labor costs as you bring food that you don't need. It'll even likely result in very poor quality food, which will not only ruin your restaurant's reputation, but in some cases even potentially lead to legal liabilities as well. Another example being with regards to the Bahamian restaurant, if the workers do not have to tenderize the conch, then meat will be rubbery and tough and will simply put off guests. Another question is, does the properties match the theme? And the physical layout of the restaurant support your theme? So for example, if you were to rent, let's just say, a restaurant with only one window at the front, usually when you think of a Caribbean country, you usually can't do a theme which requires lots of open natural light simply because you can't access it. Mismatching themes and layouts. When a restaurant's physical layout is unable to meet the needs of its theme, many problems may arise, one of them being production bottlenecks. This could be a result of many things, one of them being the failure to provide appropriate space to prepare foods. As I talked about at length before in this presentation, it is very important for restaurants, especially ethnic themed ones, to have a dedicated space to prepare the key items, such as breads in Indian restaurants or sauces in Italian ones. Another cause could be incorrect equipment. So let's just say you have a Chinese restaurant, but you don't have woks. It becomes very difficult to consistently prepare the dishes in a timely manner. Next, inappropriate layout. So let's just say you want a French restaurant with an extensive prefix menu, but you have a very small kitchen. It becomes very difficult for the employees to prepare their food in a timely manner and to follow health regulations. Another one which may arise is poor guest ambiance. If the layout of the front of house area is poor, it results in excessive noise, poor seating layout, uncomfortable lighting, such as very bright lights where they're not meant to be. It could also be difficult for wait staff to navigate, which results in very long wait times. Test scenario. In this fictional test scenario, we'll be looking at the construction of a new restaurant in Scarborough, the theme centered on eco-conscious and sustainable dining. We'll be looking at the potential layout, the materials used, menu presentation along with the overall ambiance. Here's for the layout. You will maximize the use of natural light and breeze. You'll do so by having most of the seating in covered outdoors in either veranda or porch. This has many benefits, such as significantly reducing the cost of our electricity, as we are less reliant on HVAC systems or lighting. But the downside is that it might be difficult to operate at certain times of the year due to being more exposed to the elements. Next, materials used. We'll only use local, eco-friendly, locally sourced ingredients in our menu. Our suppliers who practice sustainable practices. The reason we use locally sourced materials, though, is because it helps benefit the community and ensure that they could see the benefits of having this restaurant in the town. Some examples of our environmentally friendly materials would be our locally sourced produce free of pesticides, and with our free-range chicken and eggs. For the menu, it will be printed on cardboard and to be very eco-friendly, but also be economical to change whenever the menu needs to be adjusted. The descriptions on it will be honest with the patrons as to what menu items consist of, such as any potential allergy risks they may have. For the ambiance, natural colors will be used as much as possible, such as green, blue, or brown. Natural materials for the seating arrangements. You'll also for some of the displays, we'll use either wood or stone. The layout will also encourage natural lighting. That is the end of my presentation.